guys, that's your Command Sheet Raid Shadow Legends. Welcome to the video. I'm glad to have you all here with me today. Sending some love, some positive vibes your way, especially if you need it out there, whatever you're going through. Just know that life, I want to say, has a way of getting better with time and worse with time. But I guess my point is it ebbs and it flows. So sending some love and again, some positive vibes your way because it will flow in a better direction if you're going through something right now. Today, I want to do something that I have never done before here on the channel. It's rather ambitious. I want to cover every daily login reward free champion that you get.
Every game that Patrick has invented is more pointless and boring than the last.
This time he did research.
We haven't started and I'm already bored.
And I want to do it pretty quickly. I will have timestamps of all, I don't know, about 12 or so of these champions as well. So you guys can kind of navigate when or as you pull them, or maybe you already have all of them, but you're just looking for some inspiration. I'm also going to give you kind of my thoughts on each of them, if they're worth booking, if they're worth building, and how I would gear them out. So a lot of champions to get to. Let's go ahead and get to it here. I have most of them built on my account, so I'll show you them on my account as well. Daily login rewards. The very first daily login that we get is Khatun. I'm not going to include... I'm not going to include what's his face, like Jizzo and stuff, the super early game shaman. I'm going to start with Khatun here. I don't think that those personally are worth building, the shamans and the Jizzos. I would wait and go for War Maiden super early on. I would go for focus on your starter the first 30 days until you get Khatun. So by the time that you get Khatun in this game, I would try to have a War Maiden and your starter fully 6-starred. I think that's a pretty good goal. If you don't, no pressure, just wait till your second month or whatever, right? But those are the three champions that I would personally start building, like a Kale, a Khatun, and a War Maiden early on in the game. Either way, Khatun is actually great. So she's kind of like your early game and mid game and even maybe early end game queen of speed. She'll last you a long time in this game, which is great considering you get her so early on. She has a great speed aura in all battles, so you can use everywhere. Absolutely worth investing in this champion. She's got a decreased speed on the A1. She's got a turn meter fill and an increased speed on all allies on a 3-turn cooldown. Eventually, you'll probably get your hands on Apothecary, so this can be a bit redundant to Apothecary's A3 ability, but it doesn't really matter. I mean, you're going to be using her, like I said, in so many different areas. The aura, and she's got turn meter control on the A3 on Shamanic Lightning, so attacks all enemies with decreasing turn meter by 15%, 75% on a 4-turn cooldown. Just very versatile. She's kind of like one of those motor champions that can help you out through the game. So on all of these champions, not only am I going to show you the build, but I'm going to show you their ratings really quickly on hellhades.com as well. So big shout out to hellhades.com. They give her a 4 overall grade, which I would actually agree in. Where can you use her? Well, like I said, pretty much everywhere, you know, all the normal dungeons, Clan Boss, Hydra, Doom Tower, Iron Twins, Doom Tower bosses as well. In the arena, she's a great speed booster in the arena as well. So she's really versatile. So let me show you how I built her. So I have her in double perception and speed. I think double accuracy and speed is great too. Stat priorities on Khatun are obviously going to be survivability, speed. Survivability, speed, and accuracy is what we're going for on the stats there. In terms of masteries, I'm just going to quickly, I'm not going to talk, extensively about all of their masteries, but I will show you how I have them all built out personally. And yeah, I think that War Master is a pretty standard build for Khatun, going down and also picking up Sniper and Master Hexer as well. Keep in mind, she does bring a decreased speed on her A1, so that's going to help her out there. All right, next on the list is going to be Yaga The Insatiable. So Yaga The Insatiable is a Skinwalker champion, guys. You get him after 60 days in the game, and let me tell you, he's really bad.
That is what I am saying.
He's got a poison on the A1. He's got a poison on the A2, a chance of placing 2 poisons on that A2, and then he has an increased damage against targets under poison on his A3. Honestly, sure, he's got the big version of poison, but he's not worth investing in. I don't think he's worth building or maxing for anybody out there personally. Of course, do what you want. It's your account. It's your game, of course. But I don't want to sit here and lie to you either. I don't think he's worth it. I think he's a trap. There's an uncommon champion called Outlaw Monk, Sacred Order, and he does poisons, and he's so much easier to build, right, than Yaga the Insatiable. And he's not an epic. He's an uncommon, big version of poisons, 2 of them on a 3-turn cooldown, okay? Yaga is not worth your time. However, just for due diligence, he's a 2.5 in hellhades.com. He gets pretty bad scores across the board. Clan Boss for poison would be his key area. He has a 3.65 multiplier on his A1, a 3 on his A2, and a 5.9 on his A3, which does hit pretty hard. His attack doesn't scale that well, though. If you are inclined to build him and you want to go ahead and do his masteries, I think this would be a fine mastery build for Yaga the Insatiable behind me right now. But next up on the list is actually going to be a better, but not by a ton, option in Dark Athel. So unfortunately, after 90 days, you get your hands on freaking Dark Athel. A lot of people love Dark Athel. I want to be, honest with you guys. I've heard from the fans of her throughout the years here, but I mean, she's been a victim of power creep. When she was introduced to the game, I thought she was average to slightly below average. Now I think she's very below average. She's bad. I think she's bad. I would not build her. I would not recommend that you guys build her, but she does have a decreased defense on the A1. She has an AoE decreased speed, albeit on a 4-turn cooldown, albeit at a 75% land rate. If this was on a 3-turn cooldown with 100% decreased speed, as is the case with a lot of epics in the game, it'd be a great ability, but it's not. She also has an AoE increased speed only on herself, heals her if an attack kills 6 enemies, and grants an extra turn if it kills 10 or more enemies. So sure, she can get an extra turn against spiderlings, on a 4-turn cooldown, which can lead her into another AoE attack. Listen, best case scenario, you're getting 2 AoE attacks in a row, in a stun set or something like that on Dark Athel. I think that back in the day, that was actually something that might be useful for some progression players. I think even progression players, heck, even free-to-play players, personally, again, I am not recommending that you invest in Dark Athel. You'll get better options. The good news is there's not that many duds here. There's a lot of good ones on the way.
Got the car of the house.
In this game, it's all about resource management. Save your resources for better options. That's my opinion. However, again, you can see her scores. They're pretty bad all around. She does get a 4 out of 5 in Spider, and frankly, I even think that's a little bit kind. Clearly, I'm down on this champion. Stat priorities will be accuracy to land the decreased speed, and speed, accuracy, crit rate, crit damage. Let's see, blessings, you guys can see the recommendations there. Phantom Touch, Cruelty, Spider, they recommended Hero's Soul. And in terms of masteries, again, shout out to hellhades.com. I see nothing wrong with these in terms of a mastery loadout for Dark Athel. Good news is, after 120 days, you get your hands on a real good one. It is not Dark Athel, but Dark Elhain. Now, Dark Elhain is my girl. She smacks. She's a really, really impressive Undead Horde Magic Affinity nuker, and she's also a very, very unique champion, right? So what does she do? Well, first off, she has an AoE, decreased speed, 75% on a 3-turn cooldown. She also brings her own increased attack on the same ability before she goes in with the ability, and it has great multipliers. Does a lot of damage, right? But her claim to fame is fills this champion's turn meter by 25% and instantly activates that A2, that Death's Majesty ability, whenever this champion or an ally receives a freeze debuff against Torment, against Frost Spider, against Ice Golem, anybody who's applying freeze to you. She's just going to be just absolutely just machine gunning her Death's Majesty ability. It's incredible. I love her. She's amazing. Instantly removes any freeze debuffs on this champion on her second passive and replaces it with increased crit rate, increased crit damage, and strengthen whenever an enemy places a freeze on this champion. So now she's immune to freeze as well. You can do some really crazy things with her. I will show you the build that I have on my Dark Elhain. I have it built for anti-Torment in the arena, anti-Yakarl in the arena, anti-freeze in the arena specifically, meaning I have her built rather slow, because I'm really counting on all of those instant activations, to get extra attacks in with a strong AoE. Hence, I actually built her with attack percentage on the boots, right? Even for PvE, which I don't normally do outside of the end-to-end game, or I don't normally recommend. So her speed is fairly low here on my build. She's at 177, 102, 266 crit damage. She's very high, base attack 55, 54. She can smack here. Her accuracy is a little low. We do want to make sure we have enough accuracy to land those decreased speeds. I do have her in a double Cruel in a speed set. I think that Cruel, Lethal, Savage, all cool with Dark Elhain. You can even experiment with Reflex if you wanted to and get back to that only other active ability, Death's Majesty, even sooner, right? Masteries on her. I have Crushing Rend as a blessing, and you guys can see the Masteries right here. I do have the Ignore defense on Helm Smasher. You could absolutely go with War Master as well. I do also have the support for the extra accuracy and the Master Hexer and that Sniper to benefit the decreased speed, which I absolutely love on that A2 ability, considering she's just constantly activating it, right? Vis-a-vis Lethal Winter against freeze targets. If you want to use her as a nuker outside of a freeze situation, just go ahead and replace these boots with speed boots. So right now, how I have her built: attack percentage, and crit damage on the lower, artifact level. And then we have accuracy, we have crit damage, and we have attack on the ring. Just make sure that you have a reviver on the same team, or some sort of a way to keep her alive, because she is fairly squishy with 804 base defense, 17k HP. That is Dark Elhain. She's given a 3.5 on hellhades.com. Frankly, I think that's a little low, personally, but they did give her 4 in the arena, 5 in Dark Fae, 4.5 Frost Spider, 4.5 in Ice Golem. I think those are fair scores. 3.8 multiplier on her A2 and a 3.1 on her A1. After 150 days, we get our hands on Lordly Legionary. Lordly Legionary is a Lori? Did I call him Lori? He's a Fire Knight specialist is what he is, guys. You could certainly use him in Faction Wars as well. He's definitely one of those champions that personally, unlike Dark Elhain, I would not take to level 60. I think you can get by with this guy at level 50 for Fire Knight progression and for Faction War progression. So that's how I would handle this champion personally. He has a 2-time hitter on his A1, extra hit if the target's under a heal reduction, a weak version, and then 2 extra hits, so a 4-time hitter if they're under 100% heal reduction, which is oftentimes the goal, right, against Fire Knight. On the A2, attacks 1 enemy on outflank, 100% chance of placing a decreased speed for 2 turns, decrease the target's turn meter by 20% if said decreased speed is placed. So once you get that shield down with the A1, with all those hits, hopefully, right, provided somebody like a Cold Heart or whatever applies the heal reduction, you can come in here and then land the decreased speed and the decreased turn meter, which is great. Reflect damage on a 4-turn cooldown and a continuous heal on all allies. Reflect damage is nice because it can count as a hit on the Fire Knight shield. However, a 4-turn cooldown is exceptionally long for this sort of an ability. We would love to see a 4 down to a 3-turn cooldown. It is what it is. There's no exciting passive, and there's no exciting aura on this champion, so kind of a dud in my opinion. That being said, I do have him built for you guys, so you can go ahead and take a look at how I built my Lordly Legionary. Again, I would not advocate you guys invest in him. He's been also a victim of power creep. We're just not one of the best champions out there, but if you need him, take him to level 50 and see what you think. I have him in a basic accuracy, speed, and perception build. I do have some crit rate and some crit damage on him, not a ton. Ideally, he'd be crit capped at 100%. He's pretty fast. His accuracy is there, 250, for most content that we would be using him in, right? For that reason, we do have accuracy on the banner. The reason I mentioned actually, we have HP on the banner. You could definitely go accuracy because we want to land those debuffs on the A2. He's missing heal reduction. I really wish this dude brought his own heal reduction. It would make his kit feel a lot more obvious, right? A lot more synergistic, right? So yeah, that's something that definitely is a bummer. He has all that heal reduction synergy. Why not bring one of the most imperative debuffs for Fire Knight in the same kit? I think he needs a buff personally.
That's never going to happen. Ever, 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 ever.
I have Phantom Touch. I think that's the way to go blessing-wise on him for obvious reasons, Fire Knight. Let's see. What else do I have? Oh, I wanted to mention his multipliers are actually good. He can smack, right? I have HP percentage, survivability first on this champion, speed on the boots, crit rate on the gauntlets. Here are the masteries that I have for him. Some people would say, why not go Giant Slayer if you can get a quad hit on the A1? It's just not dependable enough, and he only has a single hit on his A2, so I think War Master is the way to go on him personally. Lordly Legionary, like I said, he can smack. A 5.8 multiplier on that A3. A lot of people don't realize that. It doesn't make it, for me, like an auto max him just because of that multiplier, but it is worth noting. He has a 1.5 attack, a 0.75 multiplier on the extra hits, I guess. Is that how that reads? On the A1 ability. So overall, I would say, what do they give him? A 2.5? Yeah, I guess. That's fine. 2.5, maybe a 2 on Lordly Legionary. All right, next up is Scyl the Drix. So day 180 in Raid Shadow Legends is a monumental day because you get your hands on an incredible support champion, defense champion, who actually still has it, right? Unlike a lot of the champions that we've spoken about so far who have been power crept, and nowadays in the game, they're not that good. Scyl Drake is still exceptionally good, especially for players when they get her after, you know, a few months playing the game, half a year or so, right? She has a decreased speed on the A1, which is very valuable. Decreased speed on A1 means that it's usually going to be applied against bosses. Very, very helpful. Decreased speed, one of the most essential debuffs in the game, in my opinion, right? One of the most slept on debuffs in the game. Has a profound impact on every dynamic of the battle when they're going so much slower. Wing Beat Fury on her, or Flurry, excuse me, on her A2 is an AoE ×2. Each hit has a 35% chance to land a stun. That's great control, okay? And it happens on each hit. It's a very reliable stun on an AoE on a 3-turn cooldown. She's also a reviver with ally protection on a 4-turn cooldown. Nowadays, we'd love to see an ability like this on a 3-turn cooldown, so maybe a tiny bit of power creep on the A3, but it doesn't matter. She's still very, very good. I compare her, like, I compare that to like an Elva 3-turn cooldown or a White Queen and Korra 3-turn cooldown on these single target revivers, but nonetheless, it's still a solid revive, and you get the ally protection to keep them alive, and then it all comes together with Boundless Life. These healing passives, like a Siphi, like an Elva Autumnborn, heals all allies by 10% of their max HP at the start of each turn, also plays an increased speed on a random ally for 2 turns. The increased speed is great, but those heals makes her one of the most competent healers, and she doesn't even have it on an active ability. It's on her passive. We really want to take advantage of that passive for Scyl the Drakes. So for me, I have always preferred building Scyl in Relentless gear. I've always preferred building Scyl in Relentless gear. So I have a Relentless and Perception here, guys, and look at that beautiful skin. Oh, Scyl, baby! Talk to me, baby!
Obviously, I think you're cute, but, like, you seriously in love with me, or what?
Oh, I love Scyl the Drake. She's such a cool champion. I love this aesthetic, the barbarian, like the Yarkarl background, too. Anyway, I digress. I had to have my moment with my girl. We want to prioritize speed and accuracy and survivability. What good is a reviver to you if they're dead, right? What good is a controlled champion with no accuracy? So we want accuracy on the banner. We want crit damage. Well, actually, we definitely don't need crit damage on the amulet. She can hit pretty hard for a defense-based champion, but for Scyl the Drakes, we're really looking for survivability first and foremost, and damage is a nice to have, but certainly not necessary on this champion. Do I have anything? I'm just going to throw some defense on her right now. We would like to get that accuracy substats, though, from our amulet, right? Keep that in mind. Accuracy is going to be very important for the A1 and the A2 of this champion. We have speed on the boots. We have probably, if I can get there, okay, there we go. Defense, or HP or defense percentage on the chest is fine, and HP or defense percentage on the gauntlets is going to be fine too. I love her in Relentless because she takes extra turns. That means extra heals off the passive. Moreover, you get another ally with increased speed for a couple turns. Why not, right? I don't have my poor Scyl the Drakes awakened, but if I did, I might go with Cruelty, right? Decreases target's defense for each hit. Why not, right? Synergizes really nicely with her A2, so Cruelty is an option for her. With all of that accuracy, obviously Brimstone is probably going to be the most popular blessing, excuse me, for Scyl the Drakes. And also Polymorph if you wanted to inside the arena. There's a few different ways that you could go there. You could also build her in a stun set. It's probably the second most popular build on Scyl the Drakes. I always thought stun sets on Scyl the Drakes personally, while they're an absolutely viable option, I feel like she's already got a very reliable stun on the A2. Why not save your stun sets for, you know, an AoE A1 champion? You only have so much stun gear to go around. Why waste it on Scyl the Drakes when she's already a great stunner as is, you know? That's just been my philosophy. However, like I said, stun is a very popular build on her, so by all means, consider it. I have a War Master. I came down the support tree, and I picked up all the healing masteries. Again, she's such a great healer. We want to take full advantage of that. So those are going to be the masteries for Scyl the Drakes. However, I'm sure hellhades.com, they give her a 4.5 out of 5, a hugely high score. Hugely high score? Sure. Look at these scores, man. I mean, a 5 out of 5 in every dungeon? Wow. I'm not even sure if I would go that high, personally.
You wanna die?
Hey, it's there, we'll take it, right? 3.5 multiplier, a 1.55 on a double hitter on the A2 based on defense. Average overall damage rating, but hey, I've seen people build her for a little bit of damage too to help you out in those wave content. A stun set, here it is right here. This is the masteries these are the masteries you guys want to go ahead and pick up if you do want her in a stun set, because Fearsome Presence, we're double dipping here. We're benefiting from the Fearsome Presence on the stun set, taking it from an 18 to a 23% chance of landing a stun, right, on that A2. Excuse me, from the stun set, my bad. And then we're also bumping up that rate by 5% to a 40% chance on the A2 ability. So it's definitely another viable option for you guys to consider when building Scyl of the Drakes. Next up, Tainix Hateflower. So Tainix Hateflower gets a lot of hate. She does. She's not that bad, but she's more of a specialist for faction wars. I would take her to level 50 and see how you like her. I think that if you're struggling with Demon Spawn faction wars, you don't have like a Duchess or something like OP like that. I mean, for me personally, I use Tainix. I maxed Tainix for faction wars, and she was a huge help because of her her only 2 active abilities. Attacks 2 times at random, heals all allies by 3% of this champion's HP with each hit on targets under decreased speed. That can be, not the biggest heal in the world, but it can be the biggest heal that you're going to get in faction wars, right? On the Spiteful Cut, her A2 ability attacks 1 enemy. However, we do have a 100% chance when booked of placing the big version of decreased speed on the target for 2 turns. 100% chance of placing a decreased speed on all enemies for 2 turns if the attack is critical. This is a great A2. You guys know, I already said how much I love decreased speed. You can put it on everybody, provided the attack is critical and she's booked up. And then you can heal because the targets are going to be under decreased speed because you just placed it, right? So also decrease the damage all allies receive by 5%. She'll receive that damage instead, so she got some damage mitigation on the passive, which we love as well. She has HP and faction crits by 30%. I use her as my faction or lead as well, right? So her kit is not gonna blow anybody away, but she can definitely be useful for faction wars, and Demon Spawn can be one of the more challenging faction wars out there in the game. So yes, is she a must max? Not for everybody, but she can definitely be useful more than people give her credit for. She's a very simple kit, but damage mitigation, heals, and decreased speed is what you're getting from Tainix Hateflower. I have her in speed, perception, and stone skin. Just kind of threw some gear on her for the video here, but most importantly, why do I have accuracy on the chest? HP percent, we'll take it. We want to prioritize HP to get more of the heals on the A1, okay? So first and foremost, HP, accuracy, crit rate. Those are the 3 things that we need. Honestly, this build sucks. Ignore it. What we need is, let's fix it together. How about that? I'm going to kind of ruin it in the middle of the video, but what we want is, we want crit rate on the gauntlets, right? Because we need 100% crit rate to land the decreased speed, right? So I'm just going to put the first thing, don't read too much into it, but the important stats will be there, right? So crit rate is going to be now well over 100% to ensure we're placing the decreased speed now. That's what we want. And on the chest, we're going to make sure that we go HP percentage so that we can get those heals. The heals are not based, again, out of the damage dealt. Rather, the heals are going to be based off of her own max HP. So we want to stack that up as high as possible. So HP is going to be a priority. These stats now look a lot better. 112, 71k, and enough accuracy to land those decreased speeds where we're using her. Phantom Touch I went with as a blessing. I think she'd be a good candidate as well. I wonder if I was using her against Fire Knight or something that I went with Phantom Touch. She's a good candidate for a commanding presence, I feel like, especially in faction wars, where you can strengthen your aura, your team's aura vis-a-vis that commanding presence. Masteries here, guys. Again, pretty basic. We went with some support. We went the healing masteries, right? On the right-hand side, we picked up a little bit extra accuracy. We went Lore of Steel, Master Hexer to extend the duration of the decreased speeds. If you don't have her booked up, you definitely want to go with Sniper over Spirit Haste. And then we come down the left-hand side, go with War Master. So that is Tainix Hateflower. They give her a 2.5. Frankly, I like her a little bit better than the other ones. They think they gave Yaga a 2.5. They gave Athel, Dark Athel a 2.5, and Lordly Legionary. I put her a notch above those ones. I think she has a little bit more utility. You can see her overall scores, though. It's basically going to reflect, they give her a 3.5 in Hydra, but she's a faction war champion. Take her to level 50 and see what you think. Then at day 240, you get your hands on Ghrush the Mangler. This dude is a beast. Besides Scyl the Drakes, Dark Elhain, I don't know, somewhere in those conversation, he's one of the best that we've gotten so far. 240 days, and you're going to use this dude no matter what, you know, even if you're already pretty stacked after 240 days, he's going to be great for you in several different areas, Doom Tower, restrictive content, Cursed City, blah, blah, blah. He's like such an all-around great package. He's a great healer, he's got some debuffs, and he's got some damage, right? He's a defense-based champion, he's easy to keep alive. He's got a leech on the A1, help your team, you know, keep healed up. He's got an AoE decreased speed, or a decreased crit damage, or I'm sorry, decreased attack, or a decreased crit damage. Boy, we'd rather just have it be decreased attack. But you know, what we have is what we get. It is a 4-turn cooldown, which is kind of a bummer when booked out, but man, he has another strong AoE on a 4-turn cooldown on his A3 with a big version continuous heal on all allies for 2 turns, and then an additional weak version, small version of continuous heal on all allies if at least one enemy is hit with a critical hit. So yeah, that's gonna happen. He nukes, he can hit hard, so of course he's gonna critical hit. We have defensive fashion crypts, which is great as well. Man, I love Ghrush. Like I said, a lot of healing, more than you're probably expecting before you get your hands on him, and a lot of damage too. He's really up there with, he's definitely a top 5 epic defense damage dealer in the game. Maybe a top 3. I think he's probably a top 3. Hoskarul, Ghrush the Mangler, I don't even know who I'd put in the same conversation. I'm sure I'm forgetting somebody, but he's a very good damage dealer. You're going to love this dude.
Well, don't listen to him. You listen to me.
We want defense as a priority. His damage scales off defense. We want survivability. We're aiming for 100% crit rate, some crit damage, enough accuracy to land the debuffs, and as much speed as we can muster too, because we want him to go a lot so we can heal a lot and do more damage, right? So I don't love this build, but you know, it's a build nonetheless. I do have him in Relentless gear. Relentless is great because extra turn is going to result in something awesome. You know, at the very worst, or the very least, it's going to be a leech on the A1, but at the most, it's going to be 2 more continuous heals on everybody, or decrease attack and a lot of damage on everybody off this A2. We have accuracy on the banner, we have crit damage on the amulet, we have defense on the ring, we have crit damage on the gauntlets, we have defense percentage on the chest and speed on the boots. Here's his masteries. We actually went with Helm Smasher. We have him in kind of an arena nuker build, which is certainly not his best use case, but we do nonetheless. This could be great for wave content as well. Against boss content, I'd probably switch over for War Master, but this is just fine with Helm Smasher. Help him do even more damage against wave content, right? On the support side of things, I did go with the extra HP. I came down Exalt in Death, rapid response. Every time a buff wears off, you get a turn meter fill. He has the 2 continuous heals, so why not? Most importantly, I wanted to come down with Lasting Gifts. Lasting Gifts synergizing with continuous heals in this game is a beautiful thing. You get a lot more healing out of a buff if you can extend that duration vis-a-vis Lasting Gifts. Ghrush the Mangler is going to be incredible for you guys. In terms of blessings, I have Cruelty on him as well. Again, decreased target defense. He has 2 AoE hits. Why not? Why not have him decrease target's defense while he's doing everything else? They give him a 4. I totally agree with this score. I think he's fantastic. He's very versatile. You can use him almost everywhere in the game. Eternal Dragon, Frost Spider, Dragon, Ice Golem, you name it, man. Very, very good progression champion. 3.5 defensive multiplier on the A1, 3.6 on the AoE on the A2, and a 4 defensive multiplier on the A3. And my man has over 1,300 base defense for an epic that's very good. Exceptionally good multipliers. You know, way bigger than like a Valkyrie multipliers. Granted, his base defense is quite a bit lower. But man, he's like very, very impressive, robust kit. He does so much from one champion. We absolutely love that here on the channel. Then after 270 days, you get your hands on Visix The Ubowed. So Visix used to suck, and now she's very, very good. She's very good. She had a very well-deserved buff.
You are welcome.
She has a A1 that attacks one enemy 2 times. Each has a 100% chance when booked of decreasing the target's turn meter by 15% and filling her turn meter by the amount the target loses, right? Great control. 15% is a lot for an A1 ability, and it happens on each hit. That's a 30% turn meter fill potentially on an A1. A lot of people sleep and underrate how amazing that A1 ability is. And then she has an AoE on the A2 on a 3-turn cooldown with a big version of decreased speed. Heck yeah. She also brings in ally protection on everybody for 2 turns, where she soaks up 50% of all the other damage that your allies would have otherwise taken. She takes that damage instead. On the A3, she's an AoE with a provoke for 1 turn on a 3-turn cooldown on all targets, and a shield on herself, 20% of her max HP. She has a great faction defense, great aura for faction wars, defense by 37%. So, man, Visix, I always say this about Visix, right? Be prepared for her to be a beast. She can deal some damage, 2 strong AoE hits, a lot of control, the decreased speed and the turn meter steal and fill on the A1, great control, and the provoke, right? She does so much. Provoke, decrease speed, ally protect, turn meter manipulation. It's a lot of control, but she's also taking a lot of damage. That's the one thing that people sometimes, they just aren't ready for when they have Visix. Between the provokes and the ally protect, she's being attacked all the time or soaking up everybody else's damage all the time. So you need to build her first and foremost to be tanky, to be able to take all that damage. Then you can start worrying about some damage, some DPS on Visix, right? So let me show you how I have her built. I love putting her in Lifesteal or Bloodthirst because she can pack a punch and she can heal herself at the same time, right? So for that reason, we do have, what do we have on our HP percentage? HP percentage on the gauntlets, defense percentage on the chest, speed on the boots, again, survivability, 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 accuracy. Accuracy on the banner, crit damage on the amulet, excuse me, and HP on the ring. With this particular build, I would even flirt with the idea of putting HP flat stat on the amulet instead, but I guess I'm showing you this build to prove a point here. Even with a Bloodthirst set, which you would think would just be building her with a lot of damage, I still looked for crit rate in the substats, but I prioritize survivability first and foremost because you need to keep this champion alive. So we need accuracy, survivability, speed, and then damage is how I recommend you guys tackle building Visix The Ubowed. Because we're building it for accuracy anyway, I do like putting Brimstone as a blessing on her. And for Masteries, well, you guys can see what I went with for a Mastery loadout here, guys. Pretty obvious stuff here in terms of the Mastery selections. I came down, I picked up War Master. I will point out that Life Drinker is a great Mastery to have on her, even more healing. I went down the support tree. I went with Rapid Response and Arcane Celerity for the double turn meter boost. She does bring her own buffs and debuffs, obviously, to the table. And plus, I like the turn meter fill happening as much as possible because it does synergize again with the extra turn meter she's filling off of the A1. So I just want to kind of double dip in that area. Master Hexer to extend the duration of the decreased speed, first and foremost, is going to be a great option for you guys as well. Hellhades.com gives her a 4 overall grading. I don't know if that might be pretty accurate, the 4. You know, it's hard to argue. I was going to say maybe a 4.5, but I think 4 is fair. You can see where she's used basically everywhere. She's a lot of utility everywhere in the game, from a Hydra provoker, excuse me, to a damage mitigator everywhere, to wave content, to, you know, she does quite a bit. Obviously, she has a 3.5 multiplier on her A2 and a 4.1 defensive on her A3. So pretty solid multipliers. Of base defense is very solid at 1476 as well. All right, guys, so we've reached the end, and I thought about, I'm not sure if I should make this video into 2 videos or if I should just stop here. But we know what I'm going to do. I'm going to go rapid fire on all of the other champions that you get in order. And I'm just going to show you how I built them out, but I won't go as in depth. And this is going to take you through basically the second year or whatever of daily login rewards. So start with Cleo. Cleopterix actually got a pretty significant buff a while ago, right? She's the next one that you get. I'm going to go in order of when you get them, right? Cleopterix, they give her a 3.5 overall score. Crit rate, crit damage, accuracy on Cleopterix. I actually like her a little bit better than 3.5. I'm a fan of Cleopterix after her buff, right? I think she's great. She's got a weaken on the A1. She's got a perfect veil on this champion. If she kills an enemy under Hex, kind of tough to do on the A1, but still there. She's bringing her own damage buffs, crit rate, crit damage. She has a block active skills on targets under Hex on an AoE 3-turn cooldown. Does a lot of damage too. She got nice damage multiplier buff. Sky Punishment does a ton of damage, and she has an increased accuracy, attacks, and lands the Hex and the Fear on enemies under Hex already, right? So she got some control built in there as well. She has counterattack with the default skill every time this champion loses 30% HP or more on a single turn. Always counterattacks when attacked if 2 or more allies are dead. That leads into more weakens and perhaps a perfect veil right off of that passive. So I put Soul Reap on her. Here are the masteries that I went with, guys. I like Cleopterix. Next up is Scion. Not a fan. They give him a 2 overall. I've never been a fan of this champion, guys. I don't think he's worth building, especially for when you get him. He has bad scores across the board. Crit rate and done is by 24%. A 3.5 multiplier on the A1 with block active skills. Single target attack, plays a block buffs and a heal reduction. Ignore shields on this A2 evil seed. Nice multiplier, but, you know, it's not... just that multiplier with a base, what's his base attack here? 1409. It's nice, but you know, a 1 hard-hitting ability does not justify building a champion. A cleanse on himself, attacks all enemies, increase attack, increase crit damage on this champion after attacking. Listen, if this was before attacking, crawling chaos, it would be, you know, worthy of at least some consideration. But man, I hate when things happen, when buffs happen after the AoE attack. Don't you guys? Either way, personally, he can be like decent damage for restrictive content, but I'm not a big fan. Guurda Bogbrew. I am actually going to pull up my Guurda. They give her a 3 overall grading. People sleep on Guurda. Personally, I think they sleep a lot on Guurda. I think she's a lot better than people give her credit for. She has a really stupid A2. And I feel like people hold it against her. Here are her masteries that I have, by the way, guys. I'll just show you the masteries first. Coming down, most importantly, Master Hexer to extend the duration of the poisons that she brings. And then War Master just to kind of min-max her damage against bosses, etc. So, Guurda Bogbrew. Man, it was I gotta give a big shout out to my man YST. He came on the channel, he talked about her for like an hour. He replaced Battle Khazar on everywhere he used Battle Khazar. He uses Guurda now, and he likes her better. Isn't that crazy to hear that? But when you look at her kit, it actually makes sense. I threw like a perception, accuracy, speed on her. First and foremost, we want her to have a lot of accuracy and speed, some survivability. Pretty easy champion to build. I have accuracy on the banner, obviously. I have just survivability everywhere else, right? Speed on the boots. I'm sure I have defense percentage, it looks like. See, attack on the... I have no idea why I have attack on the ring. Ignore that. Looking for some survivability. But yeah, speed on the boots. We're looking for... Oh, you know what? I know I had attack. I was trying one of those videos out where I build support champions or debuffers into nukers to see who did the most damage, and she was not one of them. So I would put HP or defense there. HP or defense percentage on the gauntlets in the chest as well. But what does she do? I put Brimstone for a blessing. Debuff spread, taking 1 random debuff from the target and placing it on all enemies under weaken. Decrease their turn meter if they're not under any debuffs. Not a bad A1 with Brew Mama on the A2 and AoE weaken after attacking. Has an 100% chance of placing 2 poison debuffs for 2 turns on enemies without weakened debuffs. These poisons cannot be blocked or resisted. I mean, yeah, it's weird. You're building it with accuracy because of the A3, so you're probably going to land the weaken. If not, you land poisons, you know? Hemlock Surprise, or A3. 100% chance of removing a random buff from all enemies. It's great. Sometimes 1 buff is all they have. A lot of times 1 buff is all they have anyway, right? Then has a 100% chance of placing 2 poisons on all enemies for 2 turns. And then also removes 2 random debuffs from all allies, right? So she brings the AoE weaken, which can be helpful as a debuffer. She brings the potential poison. She brings the little cleanse from allies, the poisons on enemies, and removes buffs at the same time on enemies, right? It's not that bad of a kit. Whenever this enemy receives a debuff, their turn meter is decreased by 3%. So a nice built-in control with no cooldown. It applies to all debuffs, not just her own debuffs on that passive. She's not that bad. She's really not. Her kit is a little unorthodox, a little weird, but you know, these are the areas that you can use her. Lady Eresh. Not a huge fan of Lady Eresh personally, guys. 2.5 rating overall. Bad rating in basically everywhere in the game. The one thing about Lady Eresh is she can smack. She has an extra turn ability, increase attack, increase crit damage with the extra turn, goes in with a hard-hitting AoE hit on the Blur of Knives. So yeah, she can do some damage. You know, it's not too bad, not the greatest damage out of any epic in the game. But by the time that you get her, which is after, what, like 600 days or something, you're probably not going to have a need for her. Next up is Arix, guys. Arix, 3 overall grading. I give Arix a significantly higher score. I give her a 4. Which might not sound like much, but I think she's one of the best HP-based nukers in the game, not named Narcissus or Taurus. She's a great nuker. You can have a lot of fun with her in the arena. She's great for Hydra, AoEs everywhere, great for Curse City. She's great in a stun set for control. She has a counterattack mechanic on her A3. She's great for Doom Tower waves. She's good for, you know, Dragon, Spider, Ice Golem, you name it. A 0.22 multiplier on the A1. And a 0.35 on the A2 with a stun. She also has ally protection and a counterattack on the Warped Guidance A3, and then fills his champion's turn meter by 5% each time an ally inflicts a critical hit on the Cynical passive. Man, she's doing so much, but she's doing a lot of freaking damage, guys. Let me show you my Arix. Last time I mentioned that Arix was a daily login, a lot of people were like, no, she's not. Just takes you about 2 years, but you'll eventually get her.
I'll probably be dead by then.
I have a moral perception and retaliation. Retaliation is really good now, especially on her. 15% chance to counterattack when hit. However, I will say, if you're lucky enough to ever get your hands on enough, the best set for Arix, obviously for control, is going to be stun, even though she does bring her stun on the A2, but it's Slayer. I have a whole video out of Arix in a Slayer set. Check it out if you want to. She can solo Spider Hard 10 in a Slayer set. You just need to get her up to fills your champion's turn meter by 5% with each enemy hit by AoE attacks. You can get her up to that, and she can solo Spider. It's pretty insane. It keeps getting better too. On 6-piece, ignores 30% of enemy defense when using AoE skills. This is the way that you want to go, but you can also get there with, you know, a 4-piece Immortal or a Lifesteal set, plus a 4-piece Slayer set. That's how I have her built in that video, by the way. There's so many different ways you can build her. You can build her in... You can build her in Relentless if you want her to take multiple turns in a row. You can build her in Triple Retaliation. You can build her in Lethal or in Savage. I want to build her with enough accuracy because I want to put Brimstone on her, and I definitely want to land not only the decreased speed, or the stun on the A2, excuse me, but also on the removing random buffs from the target can be helpful against Hydra, right? Counterattack, ally protection, heck yeah, counterattack leads her to go into more AoEs where she's removing more buffs from each target. Oh, it's a beautiful thing. I love Arix. She's really cool. These are the masteries that I went with on Arix, guys. War Master, Retribution, and Deterrence on the defensive tree, right? So definitely trying to get more of those counterattacks. I love Shadow Heal on tankier champions as well. Arix is great. Here I have her kind of like more of a hybrid build. Crit damage on the gauntlets, HP percentage obviously on the chest, and speed on the boots, accuracy on the banner, crit damage on the amulet on Arix. Ooh, I love Arix. Ceez. Ceez is the last champion you get, guys. We're coming to the closing of the video. He's a 3.5 overall score. What does Ceez do? Let's just pull him up in game. He's actually one of the champions that I do not have built for you guys, so I apologize on that, but let's take a look at him nonetheless. So Ceez is the end of the road. How many of you guys have Ceez? That means you have officially reached the end of all the freebie champions they give you. He has very high base attack, 1531. The first thing you notice when you look at this champion. He has an increased attack on himself if it's critical on the Snicker and Slice A1. On the A2, attack one enemy 3 times, fills his champion's turn meter by 10% on each critical hit. Also, Perfect Veil on this champion for 1 turn. I love the Perfect Veil on, even if it's a selfish ability on one champion, it's a good way to keep high attack squishy champions alive longer. Swarming Suffering, an AoE with an increased crit damage buff on this champion before attacking, and also a heal on each critical hit on a 3-turn cooldown. Swarming Suffering hits pretty hard. His multipliers are 3.2 on the A1, 1.5 on the triple hitter on the A2, and a 3.3 on the A3, but plus the increased crit damage and the heal. The cool thing about Ceez is he can keep himself alive for a pretty squishy attack-based nuker, and he can deal some pretty nice damage. The bad thing is waiting 800 days or whatever. Not many people are going to need a Ceez in their collection, you know? If he had at least a double hitter on the A1, at least he could be justifiable for Fire Knight, but he doesn't even have that, which is a shame with a triple hitter on the Night of the Bat. He can smack, he can do damage, but I'm left kind of meh on if he's worth building by the time that you get him. Pull him earlier, he can be a solid DPS in the early game. Guys, hopefully you found this video helpful. I tried to go through it as quickly as I could. Much love, and as always, take care, guys.